Good Tuesday afternoon to you. I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us on Sports4CLE. A little later in the show, Chris Fedor, Cavs beat reporter for the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com, will join us. Cavs off to a really good start and some individual honors beginning to pour in for the Cavs. We'll delve into that with Chris Fedor. The Browns, Tuesday normally Players' Day off. Plenty going on out in Berea. Wyatt Teller extended a 4-year extension. We'll have more on that in just a minute. But some news broke earlier today that is concerning. Nick Chubb and Demetric Felton tested positive for COVID, as did John Kelly, a running back on the practice squad, tested positive yesterday. We know that Felton and Chubb are both vaccinated, so they are not completely ruled out of the game against the New England Patriots Sunday. They need to have 2 negative tests 24 hours apart to be eligible to play, so there still is the potential that both Chubb and Nick Felton, that Chubb and Demetric Felton could be eligible to play Sunday against the Patriots. Wyatt Teller talked about Chubb and also Demetric Felton testing positive, and just when things seem to settle down, something else crops up out in Berea. Here is Wyatt Teller.
I feel like if you follow the rules, you do the right things, it gives you the best opportunity to get back. And, it's not how it always works. There's, times where, this happens or that happens, but it's happening to everybody. And, to say poor me or poor this or poor that is just, it's not the best mindset. It's, hey, how are we going to handle this situation and handle it in stride? And, I think that that's how Coach Stefanski is. And I'm thankful for that. Yeah, it's like for every good news, there's something bad that happens. What is this, the world? But no, it sucks. I hope the best for them. I hope that, I think they were vaxxed. I can't speak for anybody else. But, I really hope that, they're back quickly. No symptoms, let's just hope that it was, very minor.
Let's welcome in Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. And Mary Kay, again, just when things seem to settle down, something else crops up for the Browns to overcome.
Yeah, fortunately, they're really good at overcoming adversity. They learned how to overcome COVID adversity last season. And then, of course, last week, they overcame the adversity of Odell Beckham Jr. being released, really pulled together and went out and dominated that Bengals game. Boy, what a victory that was for them. And yes, here they are, dealing with some more adversity heading into this Patriots game. But, they're built for this sort of thing.
Now, if all shakes out in the worst possible way, potentially just Dearness Johnson would be the only healthy running back on the active roster. You have Andy Janovich. They did re-sign Johnny Stanton to the practice squad. What do you think they do in terms of running back if those guys can't go? The guys that have tested positive can't go Sunday.
You know what? I think they're going to have to add somebody. They're going to have to figure something out. You can't go into a game with only, Dearness Johnson. You just can't do that. Plus, you can't take the chance that, Dearness Johnson might end up testing positive. He was in the room with all of these guys, and really it's the running back room, obviously, that, that is struggling right now. So I think they're going to have to add a running back to the program here, and they're going to have to get the run game also maybe accomplished in other ways. I mean, this is going to be a tremendous challenge if these guys can't play.
All right, and so the other bit of big news out in Berea, Wyatt Teller signed to a 4 years, $56 million contract extension. So he is, in fact, extended. How big of a deal is that for the Browns? And he certainly seems to be thrilled to be here, but it means another piece of that really good offensive line is here for a while.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty big. And, he thought he might have to become a free agent because in order to make the kind of money that he wanted to make, he wasn't sure the Browns were going to be willing to pay that to him. But he's gone out and he's earned it. I mean, here he is as the number 1 or the number 2 rated guard in the NFL right now, according to Pro Football Focus. He has just been playing lights out. We've seen some of his pancake blocks. You saw the one on Jesse Bates that sprung Nick Chubb for that 70-yard TD. He just fits perfectly in this offense, and he went out and he made himself some money.
Yeah, without question, and he's thrilled to be in Cleveland. Wyatt Teller talked about signing the extension that will keep him in a Browns uniform for the next 4 years. That 4-year extension, $56 million. Here's Wyatt Teller.
I couldn't love my team more. I couldn't love my coaches. I couldn't love, the city more. But that's not always how it works out. Sometimes that you have to make hard decisions, and that's, letting a certain player to keep another player. And, I'm thankful that, they viewed me as a special player, a very special player, second largest guard contract in NFL history, which is an amazing thing. But better that I'm staying in a great city with great fans and great team, great players around me. It's just a blessing.
And Mary Kay, the other thing to keep in mind, young player ascending, you would think is just going to keep improving and getting better and better. Teller, just a couple years into the league, so in that Browns system, that's kind of built for him.
Yes, absolutely. He is so completely well suited to this wide zone offense. He's doing a phenomenal job in it. He's athletic. He pulls. He does everything that they need him to do, and he's just been tremendous. And he makes a perfect pair with Joel Bitonio, and and it's just he's a great building block on that offensive line. And the Browns are so committed to the offensive line and making sure that they're protecting Baker Mayfield and they're blocking for Nick Chubb, and they are just so willing to spend the money on offensive linemen, and it's vitally important.
When you look at the Browns, those two guards that you mentioned, Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller, Pro Football Focus, the analytics-driven website, ranks them as the second and third best in the NFL. So you have two of the three best wearing the orange helmets and blocking for that run game. And Mary Kay, I know tackles are important. The way that Kevin Stefanski and Bill Callahan use Wyatt Teller and Joel Bitonio, every bit as important as tackles in that run scheme.
Absolutely, 100%. And you've got two of the best, as you just mentioned, in the NFL. And it's pretty incredible to have those two guys. You've got two second-team All-Pros from last season. Joel Bitonio, 3-time Pro Bowler. And, it doesn't really get much better than that. There's a major reason why they right now are the number one rushing attack in the NFL with 160 yards per game. So absolutely 100%. It's a huge deal to have those guys.
So Wyatt Teller talked about being a part of this offensive line and also just feeling like he's going to continue to improve under Bill Callahan, offensive line coach.
To be around the same guys for a year or two is special. When you can lock down some guys for 4 or 5 years together, that's special. That's, it takes each year you're gaining, so much continuity, so much experience together that, each year is just, it gets better and better and better. And, I'm lucky to have, a great center and JC and a great tackle and Jack. And then, I got a full off season with Coach Callahan, a year ago, and took a big stride in technique and fundamentals, and then this year getting a little bit more consistent, not having splash plays or bad plays, and it truly is amazing. I'm thankful that the fans of Cleveland, offensive linemen are loved, they're glorified here, and that's just a special city.
And Mary Kay, the fans love him because he's got that little nasty edge to him that you like to see in an offensive lineman. And he's pretty regular. You can hear by the way he's talking, he's a pretty regular guy. If ever there was a guy that the city of Cleveland would relate to, it's going to be a guy like Wyatt Teller.
Yeah, I was asking him today about, carrying the gator and showing all of those pancake blocks. He is very Cleveland. He just fits the profile of a Cleveland fan. Couldn't you just see him, hanging out in the, in the Muni lot with Browns fans before a game? I feel like he would fit in there perfectly. So he's been tremendous for this city. He's been tremendous for this football team, and it's a great find. And you have to give John Dorsey some credit for trading for Wyatt Teller, 2 late-round picks in 2020, and he has 100% exceeded expectations.
So the big question is, can you see Andrew Berry extending another person or two? I mean, there are a number of guys. You know, Baker probably won't get done. You still have Denzel Ward. And I wouldn't be surprised if they start looking at David Njoku. I mean, he's been really good and has improved areas that were considered weaknesses. His run blocking's been really, really good.
Yes, he's done a really nice job. And I know that there was talk before the season that if he had the kind of season that he hoped he would have, that they would start to talk mid-season about maybe thinking about extending him and going forward with this relationship that was very rocky at one point. But he's definitely somebody that I think will be on the list of guys that they'll talk to. And they still have to deal with Denzel Ward. You got Baker Mayfield. So there could be other business coming down the pipe.
All right. Before we take a quick timeout, hearing that Odell Beckham Jr. has cleared waivers, have you heard the same thing? And if so, where are you guessing that he ends up, or do you have any feel for that?
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, and I'm trying to post it as we speak. So, yeah. So, you know what I heard, that he wants to go to Green Bay, that he wants to go to Seattle. We know the Saints were interested in him, so he'll end up somewhere, and he could end up coming back to haunt the Browns a little bit.
All right, Mary Kay Cabot and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. On the other side of the break, we'll talk a little bit more about Baker Mayfield and the offense without Odell Beckham Jr. As Odell Beckham Jr. has cleared waivers, we will find out where Odell is going probably within the next 24 hours. Sports for CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions, lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
We continue talking Browns football. Browns getting ready to head to New England to face the Patriots Sunday, 1 o'clock. Stephen A. Smith on ESPN's First Take talked about Baker Mayfield leading this Browns offense without Odell Beckham Jr.
Here's where Baker Mayfield needs to be celebrated. It had nothing to do with his passes yesterday, because Nick Chubb did rush for 137 yards, including a 70-yard touchdown run. I mean, Nick Chubb was that dude. Okay, yeah. Let's not forget that. Here's the biggest reason why Baker Mayfield needs to be celebrated. And y'all both can appreciate this because y'all both played. Did you see the way players rallied around Baker Mayfield?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you watch it yesterday? It was like, wait a minute now. This is our guy. See, we've been talking and speculating for weeks. You and Odell are not on the same page. What's the problem? Egos involved. Two people trying to sit up there and act like they're supposed to be the man for the team, et cetera, et cetera. Wondering because Landry's on the team and Baker Mayfield was, in large part, very well liked by guys inside that locker room.
Okay.
Wondering whether or not Baker Mayfield had alienated some people. We learned yesterday that ain't the case. You got brothers on that squad that got a lot of love for Baker Mayfield, a lot of respect for Baker Mayfield, and they showed up yesterday in their interaction with him while he was on the field performing. They showed him a lot of love, a lot of respect, a lot of deference. And when you talk to me, it was arguably Baker Mayfield's brightest day.
Mary Kay, I think that's one of the strengths of Baker Mayfield that the national media just doesn't seem to get or understand. He is the guy that the Browns want to play for. He's the unquestioned leader of that team and has been since he stepped under center.
Yeah, you know what? It is a little bit odd that I think especially most of the analysts at ESPN don't really buy into the Baker Mayfield program at this point. There's one that has been in his corner, and that is Dan Orlovsky. But for the most part, I think ESPN has been sort of, I don't want to say completely anti-Baker, but, not necessarily always pumping him up. And I think, that kind of game that you saw from Baker Mayfield against the Bengals, where he hit that 60-yard pass, and he hit that 18-yard TD pass to David Njoku, his back was against the wall. He came out swinging. His teammates proved that they would run through a wall for him, and the Browns are hoping that this continues.
So 14 completions in 21 attempts, 8 different receivers, nobody with more than 3 receptions. Is that the type of offense that Kevin Stefanski wants this Browns offense to be as far as throwing the football?
I think he would like to be more balanced. I think he wants more of a passing game, and I think they'll work towards that. But they've had to just make the best they can of the situation, and the deep ball hasn't always been there. I actually do think that they would like to be more explosive in the passing game, and I think they will be now that Odell is gone and they can just kind of get focused on how they want to do this. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones emerging, I think he'll continue to do that, and that will help a lot. I think that, we'll have to see how the running game goes this week with Nick Chubb and Demetric Felton maybe not being there and Kareem Hunt possibly not being there either. So I don't know how balanced they'll be able to be this week. They might really have to have a tremendous passing game depending on who's going to be there for them at running back.
Can you see the ball being distributed that evenly where you have, 8 or 9 different receivers catching the ball and in any one given day, it could be a different one that is, the guy that leads them with 3 or 4. Is that the way this offense is supposed to run, I guess?
The offense is really supposed to be multiple, is what the deal is. The offense is supposed to be multiple, and on any given day, it can be the running game that emerges. It can be the passing game. It can be the tight ends. It can be the receivers. It can be this guy or that guy. And the defense is not supposed to know what your necessarily what your identity is. It can be, David Njoku's day to break out, or it can be Donovan Peoples-Jones' day, Jarvis's day. So that's really what this offense is all about, to be multiple and to confuse those defenses.
Well, you mentioned Donovan Peoples-Jones, and to kind of illustrate what you're saying about how he's kind of breaking out, we take a look at this. He leads all NFL receivers this year with almost 21 yards per reception. So that kind of goes with what you're talking about as far as the explosion goes. He has been the guy that has been the downfield threat. And when you get the ball downfield, that takes people out of the box and opens it up for Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt when he comes back, or whoever's running the football as well.
Yes, absolutely. He's been tremendous, and his role will be bigger. And then there's another player who will also have a larger role going forward, and he's going to have to be ready for it, and that's Anthony Schwartz, because he does have that natural speed to get downfield and strike a little fear into a defense, providing he can catch the ball once it comes his way. He's really got to be on point in that regard. So they'll have to see how that goes. But with those two guys together, and also David Njoku, because he in his own right is a deep threat, I think they have what they need.
All right, so we touched on this a little bit earlier. Nick Chubb, Demetric Felton, they're questionable. Do we know anything yet on Kareem Hunt? My sense was When they initially put him on injured list, they expected it to be a little bit longer. They didn't really expect him to be back as quickly as he might be available. If those three guys aren't available, do they have to say, all right, Baker, this is one where we need you to throw the ball more than we would like to?
Well, it depends. I mean, if you have a healthy Dearness Johnson, I mean, you saw what he did against the Broncos. He rushed for 146 yards. So he's ready to strap the whole running game on his back and go out there and do what he has to do. I mean, it's not ideal. Nobody's really Nick Chubb. And certainly, nobody has all the special skills that Kareem Hunt does in this offense. But Dearness Johnson can go out there and he can run the football, and then they can do some other things with, reverses and jet sweeps and things like that.
Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for Plain Dealer and cleveland.com, and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, let's flip sides of the ball. We'll talk a little bit about the Browns defense getting ready for the Patriots Sunday in Foxborough. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Sports4CLE continues. Browns getting ready to head to Foxborough to face the New England Patriots. Coming off a great performance defensively, especially by the Browns secondary, which they held a very high-powered Bengals passing game pretty much in check. Kevin Stefanski talked about rookie cornerback Greg Newsome and how he's developing.
Yeah, I think, all these rookies, I really believe you see that maturation occur over the course of the season. And Greg's one of those guys that, does not oftentimes make the same mistake twice. There's things that he has to clean up. I can promise you the coaches are discussing those things with him, and he wants to get better. But his speed shows up, his length shows up. He's very, very competitive. So he's progressing.
And to kind of illustrate that, CBSSports.com came up with rookie rankings. Creed Humphrey, offensive lineman for Kansas City, was number 1. Mac Jones, the quarterback, who the Browns will be facing, was 5th. And Greg Newsome was 9th, ranked 9th as just ahead of Devontae Smith. So 9th overall in the rookie rankings by CBSSports.com. Kay Cabot, everything that I've seen about Greg Newsome, I have really liked. I think he's been everything the Browns had hoped he would be, and I think he's just going to keep getting better and better.
Yeah, the lights are really starting to come on for Greg Newsome. I think you could see it in that game, particularly on some of those breakups that he had against Jamar Chase. The thing about Greg that I think he's really taking advantage of is his speed. He is so fast. And even if they have a little bit of a miscommunication in the back end now, or if it doesn't go exactly as it was supposed to go, he can get there in a hurry. And he can make up for some mistakes, either by himself or other people. And so I think that's going to really come in handy. and he's got really good vision and great football smarts. And so, he's able to not only use his speed, but his football acumen, to get where he needs to be and break up those passes. And I think he's going to be one that will start to get in on the pick party very soon.
Yeah, and the other thing is when you see him and Denzel Ward playing together, both healthy, you see what the Browns were thinking and how excited they were to pair those two together. That was a high-powered Cincinnati passing attack that those two pretty much shut down for the vast majority of that game.
It really was. I mean, to do what they did to Jamar Chase, I mean, he looked bewildered. He looked lost. He really did. So that was a tremendous job. They set out to really shut him down and, as Kevin Stefanski said, deny him the ball. And they did just that. And it was pretty darn phenomenal how they were able to do that. So, those two guys together. And then, the safeties are playing really well, too. Troy Hill had a good game. But again, I think John Johnson 3 is another one that he has really come on strong. And the Browns needed that. They needed him to, be that leader in the back end, not just from, a field general standpoint, but also from a big play standpoint. And now he's starting to be that, too.
Well, the other guy on the defensive side of the ball who seems to bring it every week is Myles Garrett. And when we look at the numbers, 12 sacks, that's first in the NFL, 12 tackles for loss. That's tied for first in the NFL. 66 sack yards, first in the NFL. And Kay Cabot not appearing on that, he has probably been held more times that haven't been called than anybody else in the NFL. When you go back and you look at some of the video that people are showing, I mean, he's basically getting tackled on plays and not getting called. So he is having a very, very, very good year and is being talked as the Defensive Player of the Year, rightly so at this point.
That's right. He is right in that conversation this year. Now he just has to sustain it and keep it going for the rest of the season, because if you watched Monday Night Football last night, there is a really good player nipping at his heels in TJ Watt. TJ Watt had 3 sacks last night, and now I think he's up to 11.5. So he's right behind Myles, and he's played 2 fewer games. He also has at least 3 forced fumbles and a recovery or 2. So Myles is going to have to keep his foot on that gas pedal to continue to try to get past TJ for this very coveted award. And it's not going to be easy. JJ and TJ thought that TJ should have won it last year. And I think that he's really going to make a strong pitch for it. So Myles has some great competition, but he definitely is on pace to win it himself.
And the other thing is, I think some of those strip sack fumbles that were so prevalent last year, just like the turnovers we were talking about, I think those are coming. We always talk about turnovers when we're on here. Browns had 3 of them, so they were +3, giveaway, takeaway. It really seemed like the secondary was playing tighter against the Bengals. Did you kind of sense that as well, or was that something I was imagining? Yeah. It seemed like they were kind of all over them.
Yes, they were. They played tighter man coverage, and they also played just so much more aggressively. They were very, very physical, and they took some chances. And, they took some chances on possibly, getting flags, and you don't know what crew you're going to get and how quick they are going to be to throw those yellow flags for interference. But they let them play, I thought, and they didn't have to worry so much about those. So, yeah, I think that it was sort of a coming of age for the Browns secondary, and I think you're going to see a lot more big plays to come from them.
Do you think that aggressive, kind of getting after it style, game plan specific, or is that one of those tweaks that Joe Woods kind of talked about during that 10-day mini bye, whatever you want to call it, between the Thursday and that following Sunday game?
I think it was a tweak. I think that they made a concerted effort to be much more aggressive, much more physical, and again, maybe play tighter coverage. So, yeah, I think it was that. And it really, it paid off in this past game. You'll have to see as you move forward. You're playing different kinds of quarterbacks as you go along. I mean, Lamar is unique in his own way. So you have to do things differently from week to week. But for the most part, I think you're going to see a very aggressive ball hawking secondary from now on.
Yeah, I would agree. We talked earlier in the show. Wyatt Teller signs a 4-year extension. Another one of the guys extended. Teller met with the media, talked about playing in front of Browns fans and just how much he enjoys it.
You know, Cleveland has obviously grown on me. I love, you know, as cliche as it sounds, I truly do view the weather, the elements that we have to play in as a strength. You know, the blue collar mentality. We have a fan base that, you know, it's paycheck to paycheck, yet they have season tickets. You know what I mean? Like, that's how important it is to our fan base to be there to support us. You know, sometimes we don't make them too happy, but, you know, hopefully we can, you know, make them happy and, you know, keep them pleased and, you know, keep this city, you know, hungry. And once we, you know, get some success, you know, again, you know, I've been a fan of Cleveland for, you know, 2-3 years, and there's people who have 30, 40, 50 years loving this team. So, you know, it means the world to us, but I know it means the world to the fans.
Mary Kay, the more I hear him talk, the more I kind of think he truly understands Browns fans, and I think this city will continue to embrace that guy because of the way he comes across.
Oh, absolutely. Once again, I think he's a tremendous, tremendous fit. And, you know, I got him going and talking a little bit today, you know, about the alligator that he was carrying on his back and some of those pancake blocks. And he was kidding around about some of that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's just the perfect Cleveland fit. And I think as time goes on, now that he knows that he's here and the pressure is off of wondering if he's going to become a free agent or if this is going to be his home now that he knows that he's here for the next 4 years after this season, I think that he will even become a more vocal player. I think he will become more ingrained in the community, and you'll see him out and about more, you know, just in terms of community service and things like that. He's really got a great personality, as anybody can see when you watch him in these interviews, and I think Cleveland fans are just going to fall in love with him. They have already. Yeah,
just a fun guy. Mary Kay Cabot and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. On the other side of the break, we're going to turn more of our attention toward the upcoming game with the Patriots. Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
Browns getting ready for an important one. Browns 5-4, Patriots 5-4. They'll meet in Foxborough Sunday at 1. ESPN's Get Up, former players Jeff Saturday, Dominique Foxworth, on if the Browns are a threat in the playoffs this year.
This team goes by their offensive line and defensive line. And everybody's talking about Mayfield. He's plenty good to take you where you need to go. This defensive line finally asserted themselves last week against the Bengals. They need to continue to do that thing. And then their offensive line continues to create huge holes. Chubb is getting healthy. Hopefully Hunt comes back and gets healthy. But at the end of the day, this team rises and falls by the O and D lines. That's the bottom line for this. And again, Baker Mayfield doesn't need to be more efficient than, you know, whatever his stats were, 200 yards, because you had 36 plays and 36 plays and 34 points. That's pretty good. Like, you know, you're excited.
I mean, I think so. This is where I think Dan and I disagree. Is I don't think that not Monday Dan. I would never disagree with Monday Dan. He's a scary man. I mean, Dan Graziano. It's like I think that there have to be plays made in the playoffs. Obviously, big plays made. They don't have to be from your quarterback. Like Myles Garrett can get a couple sack fumbles in these games, or Denzel Ward touchdown, return for a touchdown, or Chubb take a 70-yard run. So Baker, just don't blow it. Hit the passes when you need to hit them.
And again, Mary Kay, I think that's a valid point that a lot of times people overlook. Everybody's saying, oh, you need your quarterback to go and win you games. You need your quarterback to not make big mistakes and to get the ball to people who make the big plays.
Well, you know what? There are going to be times when Baker Mayfield has to put the team on his back and go down and win games and pull out those fourth quarter close games, those 2-minute drills. There are going to be times when that absolutely has to happen. But this team is built to win in multiple ways, to win with a really good defense. There are so many teams in the NFL that do not have a good defense. One of those teams is the Baltimore Ravens, and I've been thinking about that a lot lately. The Browns are going to play the Ravens twice, and they have the 32nd ranked pass defense. It's tough, and they've had major injuries in the back end. It's tough to play really consistent, good defense when when you're losing guys like Marcus Peters and their safety that they lost this week. So the Browns have a really, really good defense. And I think that will sustain them, and they have a really good running game. But there will be times when Baker Mayfield just has to go down there and be that quarterback that you've seen. You've seen Patrick Mahomes do it. You've seen Tom Brady do it. Sometimes you just have to go win the game yourself.
Yeah, and there absolutely. But it isn't going to be a consistent thing where he has to throw for 400 yards or whatever they're looking at. This game coming up is a big one. Let's take a look at just the AFC as it lays out. And you see 7-2 Titans is the top spot. Ravens at 6-2 right behind it. Browns are at 5-4 with Broncos, Bengals, Chiefs, Patriots. Steelers at 5-3, as are the Bills and Raiders and Chargers. But this is going to be an important game just because it's one of those teams that figures to be there in that playoff hunt, being the Patriots. Head-to-head would be the first tiebreaker. But the Browns have the teams that they have on their schedule are the teams they are competing with for the playoffs. Everything is still in front of the Browns right now at 5-4 without question.
Oh, my goodness. Everything is still right in front of them. It's unbelievable. I mean, that game was so important, and that's why you heard Kevin Stefanski talking about how they were desperate to get a victory and that their lives depended on it, because in some ways they did. It wasn't a must win. They could have overcome it had they lost, but it would have been a lot tougher. I mean, they still have a lot of division games left. They've got to play the Green Bay Packers. Who knows? Odell Beckham Jr. could be on that team by then. And, they still have to play the Raiders, and it's just a tough home stretch, and they've just got to be on point the rest of the way.
So when you look at this upcoming Patriots game, everybody says, Bill Belichick will take away what a team does best. And Bill Belichick's obviously a really good head football coach. What do you think the Browns do if the Patriots decide, all right, we're not going to let you guys run for 150 yards on us? What's the next step there?
Well, COVID may have already taken away what the Browns do best. Unfortunately, there is a chance that Nick Chubb might not be able to play in this game. And that really is unfortunate if that happens, because obviously you saw what he did last week with 137 yards, a 70-yard blast, thanks in no small part to Wyatt Teller's big block there, that pancake block. But this is a situation where, they'll have to see who they have to go out there with. But Bill Belichick does do a great job of taking away what you do best. And even if it's just Dearness Johnson, he knows that with this offensive line, they'll have to shut him down as well. So anything can happen. We might not know until Friday who's playing in this game and who's not.
When you look at it, who are some of the guys that, if you do have to throw the ball, how do you design a passing game off of that potentially? And I know you don't know if you're going to have Nick Chubb or that, but who are some key guys to look for and some key things to look for in the pass game?
Well, I mean, I always believe that you have to go with the hot hand. I think that's vitally important to go with the hot hand. So I would be looking a lot at Donovan Peoples-Jones. It seems like Jarvis Landry is working his way back from his knee injury, and Kevin Stefanski even said yesterday that he's battling. So I would have to think that, you are going to go with Donovan a lot. One thing that I'm a little bit surprised about is that they're not throwing the ball to Rashard Higgins very much this year at all. So I wonder if they won't dust him off a little bit and see what he can do. And then I think they should go more to David Njoku. I mean, David is such a scoring threat, and that's what you need. You need to score the football. I mean, heading into that game, Baker Mayfield only had 6 touchdown passes. Now he's got 8. Still not enough for the midpoint of the season, and I think it'll get rolling in the second half.
The other thing is you're going against a rookie quarterback. Granted, a talented rookie quarterback in Mac Jones. Maybe not the most mobile guy. Is that a guy that you see the defensive line trying to get after?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, we've watched Bill Belichick do damage to rookie quarterbacks his whole entire career. Now it's an opportunity for the Browns to try to turn the tables on that a little bit and send forth Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. Now, we don't know if Takk McKinley will be able to play in this game because he aggravated his groin injury. So that's one to kind of keep an eye on a little bit. But Jadeveon, he's been playing really, really well. And, of course, we know what Myles has been up to. And they are getting interior pressure as well. So, and blitzing. I mean, my goodness, Troy Hill, 2 sacks in that last game. So they're going to come after Mac Jones 100% and try to rattle him and confuse him and pressure him.
And obviously turn the ball over as much as they can with a rookie quarterback. That's something that this defense has shown they did last week. Let's see if they can continue that. Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. Mary Kay, thanks so much for the time and the insight. Appreciate it very much.
Sure, thanks for having me.
All right, Mary Kay Cabot, make sure you read her in the pages of the Plain Dealer as well as on cleveland.com. We're going to step aside, change our focus to the Cavs. Chris Fedor, Cavs beat reporter for the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com, will join us. We have an Eastern Conference Player of the Week to talk about. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
Sports4CLE continues. We shift our focus to the Cavaliers. Jared Allen was named the Eastern Conference Player of the Week, first time in his career. Averaged over 20 points, 20.5 points per game. NBA best, 16.3 rebounds per game. Shot 63% from the field in leading the Cavaliers to a 4-0 mark during the week. It is the first Cavalier to win that award since LeBron James back in March of 2018. Let's welcome in Chris Fedor, Cavs beat reporter for the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. Chris, tell me about watching Jared Allen. I mean, when I turn on and watched it in bits and pieces, the thing that doesn't explain is how good he's been on the defensive end of the court as well.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the Cavs assistant coaches about that, Dave, following today's practice. And yeah, a lot of what he does that people are noticing is the improvement that he's made offensively, in part because that was unexpected. But he's anchored the defense. He's become more vocal. And him and Mobley together have created this duo inside the restricted circle that either keeps teams from testing them inside or makes things difficult on teams around the rim. I mean, you have seen a number of times throughout the course of this season, Dave, that guys will beat Colin, Sexton, or Darius Garland off the dribble. Maybe they'll get past 1 7-footer in Evan Mobley, and then there's another one with a big afro waiting for them right at the rim. And very few teams have that level of rim protection, and it helps explain why the Cavs have become a respectable top half of the NBA defense this year.
The other thing is, young guy, I mean, people tend to not realize how young Jared Allen is. He's been in the league a few years, but he's still somebody that's ascending. I think there's a lot that he can get to, and he seems to be a guy that a little bit of success and the long-term contract motivated him.
You know what, Dave? That's a really, really good point, because I felt like the narrative around Jared Allen was flawed throughout the course of this offseason when everybody was talking about what is his value, how much of a contract extension should he get, is he worth $100 million, should he get paid something similar to some of these other centers that can actually stretch the floor and knock down outside shots, Miles Turner being one of them from the Indiana Pacers. And the thing that I kept saying to people, he's only 22 years old. That's what he was at the time. Now he's 23. So he is a player who is far from a finished product. And I think we've already seen that early on in this season, Dave. If you would have told me last year that Jared Allen was going to do things to get Eastern Conference Player of the Week and beat out some of the players that he did, I would have told you were nuts, because there was no way that he was going to have the offensive numbers to keep up with some of the other players. But you've seen the growth that he's made offensively early on, and that just goes to show you that there's more to pull out of him. And the fact that the Cavs invested in this 22-year-old kid and paid him, it wasn't so much just because of what he did throughout the course of his career and what he did during the half season that he was with the Cavs. They were banking on a 22-year-old kid with nimble feet, great athleticism, really good hands, really good finishing, evolving. By the end of this contract, Dave, this thing's going to be a steal if he continues to play the way that he has, and if he continues to work on his game the way that he does. He's the first person in the gym. He's one of the last people to leave. Like, these are the kinds of guys that you bank on getting better. And he's already shown that.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, 23 years old now? That's a good combination. All right, bad side of it. So Collin Sexton, torn meniscus. Have you heard a prognosis yet? I had not heard how long he might miss. And how do the Cavs work around that? That's a big piece to the scoring puzzle for them.
So what I understand, Dave, from talking to people inside and outside the organization and talking to doctors as much as I possibly can over the last 24 hours, the timeline varies. Meniscus tears are very tricky because it depends what needs to be done. And you don't know that until you go in there and you take a look. So if it needs to be repaired, it's one timeline. If it needs to be removed, it's another. From everything that I'm hearing, it's either 8 to 12 weeks or 6 months, depending on the direction that they have to go. If it's 6 months, it's the season. It's done, it's over with. But that's going to be determined sometime here in the near future about what they need to do with it. And I think the side that it's on is going to matter as well. If it's a medial meniscus, it's one thing. If it's a lateral, it's another thing. So it's complicated. Either way, the Cavs are going to be without Colin for an extended period of time. And they don't have anybody like him, Dave. They can go with Isaac Okoro. They can go with Ricky Rubio in more minutes. They can go with Dylan Windler. And the truth is, all three of those guys that I mentioned, they bring a different kind of skill set. But for some reason, it seems like we, the collective we, have downplayed Collin Sexton's ability to put the ball in the basket. And that is a unique skill that can't be overlooked. There is nobody on this team that can consistently go out and score 25 to 30 points and do it efficiently the way that Colin has done throughout the course of his career at this point. So they're going to have to play a little bit different without him. It means Darius is going to have to be more aggressive searching for his offense. It means Isaac Okoro is going to have to be something more than just a stout defender. He's going to have to be an offensive threat. It means Jared Allen is going to have more responsibility on offense. It means Evan Mobley is going to have more responsibility on offense. Because there's nobody that has that similar skill set to Colin, they're going to have to get a little bit from each guy, and it's going to have to be a collective to replace him. It won't be easy, though.
When you look at Okoro, you mentioned Isaac Okoro, a guy that's missed last few games. Is he coming back? How soon can you expect him back in the lineup to help?
He's supposed to be back tomorrow if everything continues to go well with his recovery. You know, he was able to go through some shoot-arounds on the road trip that they were just on in Toronto and New York, and he was able to practice today. And if his hamstring recovers from today's practice, then he's going to be in the lineup on Wednesday when they start this homestand against the Washington Wizards. And it's interesting because if there are people inside the organization, including head coach J.B. Bickerstaff, that believe Isaac Okoro's best position long-term is the 2. Stylistically, the way that he plays, how he gets used in that kind of role next to Darius Garland, that's the best thing for Isaac, and that's the best thing for the Cavs. We'll see if that lasts. We'll see if that can extend minus Collin Sexton. But because of Isaac being ready to come back Wednesday, at least all indications are that he will be back Wednesday, it softens the blow a little bit when it comes to Colin. In years past, maybe even last year, the Cavs really didn't have a lot of options. They didn't have a lot of depth. They're a deeper, more talented team this year. So it has allowed them to this point to overcome some of these injuries, and it may allow them to overcome them for the next couple of weeks as well.
Cavs beat reporter for the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com, Chris Fedor, and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we'll talk a little bit about the Cavs defense. It's been pretty good. Could be even better. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Cavs, getting ready to face the Wizards Wednesday over at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Chris Fedor, Cavs beat reporter from cleveland.com, and the Plain Dealer joins us. Chris, defense has been really good. Maybe it's because we didn't know how good it was going to be, but it's been really good. Have the young guys bought into it, and are you surprised by that? I mean, a lot of times young guys are worried about scoring. These guys they realize they need to play defense.
I think they have bought in. I think there's a recognition that they're going to have to be a team that plays harder than most teams. They're going to have to be a team that plays smarter than most teams. They don't have the elite talent that's going to allow them to close the gap the way that other teams often do. So yes, they've bought in. The other thing is they have good defenders finally. If you think about it, the starting lineup, Evan Mobley has replaced Kevin Love. That is an unquantifiable addition to the defense. Evan Mobley is number 1 in the NBA in contested shots, both 2s and 3s, by the way. Think about that. He's contesting more 3s than any player in the NBA and more 2s than any player in the NBA. That shows his versatility, shows his mobility. He's just been incredible at the start of this season. So you go from Kevin, who is a negative defender, probably one of the worst defenders at his position in the NBA, to Mobley, who looks like an all-defensive candidate as a rookie. That's going to make your defense instantly better. And as JP Bickerstaff continues to sprinkle these different lineups and combinations in, Ricky Rubio is a plus defender. Dylan Windler is a better defender, I think, than people give him credit for. Lamar Stevens is a plus defender. So there are fewer matchups for an opponent to exploit this year than there have been in years past.
What about the confidence? You know, it's a young team. We've talked about that in the past. Have you kind of seen the confidence grow with the younger guys as they've had the success early in the season?
Yeah, I think that started on the West Coast trip. I mean, look, when you play those kinds of teams, the elite teams, the teams with championship expectations, and you go through that road trip, one where you're not favored in any of the games and nobody gives you a chance whatsoever, and you come back from that road trip 3-2, you're going to be more connected. There's going to be a level of belief. And look, the Cavs are seeing it. They're 7-4 in the first 11 games. They're seeing that this style can work, right? They're seeing that this system can work. They're seeing that this funky lineup that they're trying can work. And when you start seeing the results, not in the sense of, all right, we were competitive, but we lost, but seeing the results and getting the wins and holding off these teams late in games, that's obviously going to build confidence. This was a team, Dave, coming into this season, they were confident. They thought they were going to surprise people. And now they're starting to show it. And they feel like, you know, if we can beat teams like Denver on the road and Charlotte on the road, like, who can't we play with?
When you look at it, and you've seen every game, you're at practice, you see everything. What's been the most impressive thing for you about the first 11 games and just the start that the Cavs have gotten off to?
I think how consistently hard they play, because that's not a given. If you watch around the NBA, especially early in the season, there are teams that aren't playing this hard, this consistently. And I think there's a recognition, top to bottom, that if the Cavs are going to consistently win games, they're going to have to do the little things. They're going to have to, it's a phrase that they use every single day, win the scrap. They've adopted that underdog mentality. They've adopted that junkyard dog mentality, and they just play harder than most teams on a nightly basis. And on top of that, they increase their talent level so that when you combine an increase in talent with this share the wealth approach offensively and a complete buy-in defensively to play super hard on a nightly basis, you see what you have here. You see a team that can be a quote-unquote overachiever.
The injury to Sexton and some guys still missing will open up some spots in what has been an 8-9 person rotation. Who do you think has the opportunity to step up and maybe earn a little bit more playing time in Colin's absence?
The obvious is Dylan Windler, just because he brings a different kind of element that the Cavs absolutely need. Like, he can't score the way that Colin can, but he can space the floor and give Darius Garland more room to operate, space the floor, give Evan Mobley more room to operate, things like that. I mean, that's a domino effect that he can bring to this offense. So he stands out to me. Ricky Rubio, Darius Garland, those lineups that have devastated opponents. They're outscoring opponents 15.8 points per 100 possessions. With both those guys on the court, you're going to see that more frequently. And I think it's going to give Isaac Okoro, Dave, more space to explore different areas of his offense. People inside the organization are always quick to point out that Isaac Okoro's most productive games came at the end of the season when one of Colin or Darius was off the floor. That put the ball in Isaac's hands more. That's how he was used growing up. That's how he was used in high school. That's how he was used in college. It's just a more comfortable role for him. So I think you're going to see him step up as well. But in terms of minutes, Dylan Windler is the guy who has the opportunity, if he can stay healthy and if he can continue to knock down shots, he's going to benefit.
Chris Fedor, Cavs beat reporter for the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. Chris, As always, man, appreciate the time and the insight. I am sure we will be bugging you more and more as the season goes on. Thanks so much for your time.
You got it, Dave. Anytime, man.
All right, Chris Fedor, make sure you read him. Pages of the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com, the Cavs beat reporter. That'll do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Scheduled guests, Hayden Grove from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com, and Tim Bielik. That's tomorrow at 4 on Sports for CLE. We'll see you then. Have a great night, everybody.